Hello, good morning, afternoon, evening. Haven't said that in a while, huh? And welcome back to yet another Abyss and Imaginarium theater review. Sorry for being quite late on this one, but an unfortunate trail of events happened the other week and it really pushed, unfortunately, this video back. My controller started drifting, the poor boy, and I had to send it for fixing, and then my main monitor died, man, and I cannot edit without two monitors myself. So, had to push the video back, but all is good right now, don't worry. So, welcome to the 5.1 Abyss, or the October 2024 Abyss and Imaginarium Theater. It's an interesting Abyss, honestly, in general, although it's very recycled, as you will see, which is very interesting. This Abyss, when I first saw it, I was like, hold on a second, wasn't this the literal previous or before that Abyss? And yeah, it's the 4.8 Abyss again. But anyway, yeah, an Imaginarium Theater, of course, we're gonna take a look at that after the Abyss. So why don't we begin with it? Previously, in the 5.0 video, I did mention that they were implementing a floor 9 and 10 skip. And yes, it has been implemented. When you load up when the Abyss resets and you go into the Abyss menu, it will tell you that you've already gonna get the rewards. It doesn't ask you if you want to autocomplete 9 and 10, it just autocompletes it on its own. You get the rewards and everything, which is nice, but honestly there could have been much better ways to make going through or not floors 9 and 10. Like previous floors 9 and 10, as I mentioned in the 5.0 video, which you can also go watch if you want some more opinions on floors 9 and 10 in general, and these ones right now. But the previous 9 and 10s, they just became a bit repetitive around New Year's, I would say, around the middle of the nation cycle. Because they never change, of course, like 11 and 12. So the easy solution would be that around that halfway point, it would have been nice to change them, and it would take away the repetitiveness of doing 9 and 10 again and again and again. But now, of course, you will feel like the skip is really nice to have, because these floors 9 and 10 that were introduced with Natlan are extremely brain dead compared to the previous ones. The previous ones felt kind of like doing a domain, honestly. Like that was around the difficulty that existed with them. But these ones, again, the newer ones are so brain dead, it genuinely hurts doing them, and that's why I appreciate the skip. But again, I believe there could have been much better ways to make floors 9 and 10 better to go through. With that out of the way, again, you can watch the 5.0 video if you want some more info on 9 and 10. We go to floor 11. Floor 11 is a pretty easy floor 11 this time. 11-1 is a monolith defense, not a surprise, although of course sometimes they do remove it. It's a monolith defense and an extremely easy one. The first half is two Yamkasauruses and then the two water sauruses, Solio, whatever the fuck they're called them. Two waves, two each, and it's the sauruses. They're unfathomably easy. It's like, what? And then the second half is two avatars of lava, one at a time. So, an unfathomably easy monolith that you should have zero trouble going through. 11-2 then is a bunch of basic enemies. The first half is three waves containing two Eremites, then two Nobushis, and lastly two Kairagis. And the second half is again three waves but of Fontaine mechas, starting with three dogs, then the Maracus Hunter domain with the big construction mech and then two smaller supporting ones, and it ends with two big normal Fontaine mechas. So yeah, 11-2 is a very basic enemies, just beat the shit out of them, nothing much. And then 11-3 is a bit dangerous. Its first half contains a big Vishap followed by a Mirror Maiden, and the second half contains two Hydrophantasms. They should be the non-local legend variant, even though the local legend variant of these guys doesn't have a lot of changes. But most importantly, these guys spawn next to each other, so they can chain attack you a lot, and they do deal a good amount of damage, so be careful. Other than that, be careful or abuse the fact that they always have a Hydro Aura on them, right? Maybe the Hydro Aura will ruin your reactions, the team's reactions, or they will help adding to them. So yeah, like that's about it. Overall, it's a very okay floor 11. The Monolith is extremely easy, Chamber 2 is just a bunch of basic enemies, and lastly, Chamber 3 really does not want you to use Hydro. Because the Mirror Maiden and the Vishap have plenty of resistance to Hydro, and then of course the Phantasms are immune to it, so they're like, no Hydro DPS, motherfucker. But yeah, extremely easy, floor 11. So let's go to floor 12. Chamber 1 is the most difficult, but not on enemy type difficult, but time difficult. Although, I have to say, it's not the most bullshit like previous 12 ones that I have mentioned that were bullshit on time because they had super annoying enemies. The first half contains 2 consecrated beasts, a falcon and a scorpion that appear each in a wave, so 2 waves. This is a double-edged sword, honestly. On one side, not having 2 consecrated beasts up your ass is a nice thing, because even on the first chamber of floor 12, they can kick your ass hard with their damage and attacks, but on the other side, more competent teams would be able to kill them at the same or close time if they were together on one wave. Other than that, just hope a bit on RNG, because both of them have attacks that, the Falcon goes up in the air, the Scorpion digs underground, and that can definitely waste a lot of time if they spam them. Many times that I went to try the Abyss and try this chamber, they used these abilities once or twice at most. But I had one, especially in the background footage that you'll see, I had a try where the Scorpion just spammed going underground, which just basically means a restart. But in the background footage, of course, I've already completed the Abyss, so you can rest assured that I wasn't annoyed. I didn't reset. And yeah. The first chamber of floor 12, the second half is more problematic. It begins with a small wave of small Vishaps, a bit annoying if they move around, but fine. Afterwards are 2 Breach Primuses of the Geo variant, so they have a Geo shield that you will need to break. Even if the Primuses don't actually take less damage with their shield on, the problem is that they constantly use their ultimate attack, and you simply do not want that to happen. And lastly, after them are 2 Geo Golems, where you will need to break the shield since they do take less damage. The small Praetorian Golems, as they are called. So yeah, the big problem here are the Geo Shields. Depending on what you bring, they aren't that hard to break, but the premises honestly are decently tanky, and the Golems do like to get up really quickly. It's just a small combo of factors that can make you miss the 7-minute mark by just a little bit. The 2 waves on the first half and the kind of unnecessary Vishap wave can and will hurt your time a bit, and then the Geo Shields, it kind of depends. But I tried many teams on both halves and they performed perfectly fine. So you can bring Geo for the easiest job, then Xiao or Xianyun or Cloud Retainer will do perfectly, and lastly, blunt-ish attacks from claymores and whatnot you can find from abilities, you can do a good job with them. And I usually think of Diluc, honestly, when I mention these kinds of abilities and claymore characters, because he has a lot of hits with his 3 skills and attacks in between. So if you can kind of make up for the lower damage that Diluc usually does, or of course brings Xianyun for Dragon Striking, honestly, you can again make do with just Diluc, honestly. And yes, there is Overload, but only with Sevrus, so that's why I don't always mention it, because you're not playing Overload without Sevrus, because it's not really a good... It doesn't make the best teams, that's all. Maybe you can do something with Overvaping, which is Overload plus Vaporize, that will definitely help, but again, those teams are kind of really scarce. So yeah, that's 12-1. It's a small combo of things that can slightly mess it up, and just barely miss the 7-minute mark. I had a friend, when the Abyss reset, I didn't try the Abyss immediately because I was fixing my controller, and I had a friend that was like, oh, this is impossible, this is that, and I'm like, I looked at them and I was like, you're not using your teams correctly. And then I played the game, I played the Abyss on keyboard, which is, I haven't played Genshin on keyboard since forever. 4 years now, I play with a controller. So you understand that it wasn't the easiest thing to do on a keyboard. But like, I did it, and I'm like, I have like 30 seconds left. What's happening? What are you doing wrong? So, again, I've seen some people struggle a little bit, just a little bit, like just a few seconds off of the 7-minute mark. And in the background footage, you'll see that my unfamiliarity with the keyboard and mouse controls definitely did break my times. Also, sometimes like, the game just didn't even register my inputs, honestly, and sometimes like Al-Haytham just decided to skill away instead of at the enemy. I don't know, but yeah, 12-1 is your biggest hurdle. And thankfully it's 12-1, so you can go in, go out, change your teams, and immediately test them. So it's kind of fine. And then the next two chambers are, hey, do you remember 4.8 like I mentioned? Cause it's back. 12.2 and 12.3 are extremely similar. 12.2 has 2 Metachurls and 2 Ruin Graders on the first half, followed by the Geomecha Local Legend on the second, and then 12.3 has 2 Ruin Drakes, non-flying, on the first half, followed by the Legatus Golem on the second. It's literally the 4.8 Abyss. So you can go to that video to learn a lot on what to do against these guys. But I guess a small retelling is needed for the, retelling of tips is needed. For the first halves, there's nothing. Of course, they are fully basic enemies, but as for the two Geo problems, the Local Legend is easier since it allows all characters to plunge attack, so everyone can break the shield. Just watch for the Shockwave, attack timing, and the shield regeneration. You simply don't want to misalign your rotation when the shield comes back, but the Legatus Golem does not allow you to do that, the plunging attack, so the tips are the same as 12-1, honestly. Geo, Plunge, Claymores, and Overload with Sevrus, the strategies are exactly the same. The Golem does take more damage compared to the Geo Mecha when they both have their shield up, so you can kind of brute force it with a lot of pure damage. But this is in 12-3, so you most likely have found your strategy to 3-star 12-1 and 12-2, and you will just use that strategy in 12-3. So the idea again of brute forcing it with a lot of damage kind of falls off, but I'm saying that if you have maybe a good sub DPS, say, for Rina with her skill and whatnot, they will nicely push some damage before you break the Geo Shield. That's mainly what I'm hinting at. And that's floor 12 and the Abyss. It's 4.8 again, with 12-1 being kind of tough, but without extreme bullshit. And floor 11 is nothing really interesting. So overall, it's a pretty easy Abyss. Thank fuck. First of all, the new enemy that was added, the new boss that was added for Xylon and Xylon and whatever the hell, however you pronounce her name, the new boss that was added in the map is not in the Abyss. And by the way, just saying that MiHoYo is not done with Geo yet, apparently, and they might have the dog treats out for the new Abyss, the 5.2 Abyss, so get ready for that. They did bring out the dog treats bag. Right now, first and second Abyss are looking fine. No bullshit, but again, nothing nightsoul is also in this Abyss. So until again nightsoul things move into the Abyss, the things that I said in the 5.0 video are not going to appear. And honestly, I went to go do the new boss, and it's bullshit. But it's not for this video. And now we move on to the Imaginarium Theater. Yeah, you can tell just from that what's upcoming. My goodness, this is the absolute worst. No contest. So this time, for Imaginarium Theater, the elements are Pyro, Electro, and Geo. Oh my goodness. Overload, that is shit without Sevrus, and then good luck, I guess, because you only have 2 stages with either Xylonen or Nan if you didn't pull for her, or Navia, which are the only two Geo characters that really want characters of other elements. But if you thought that was honestly the main problem, boy do I have a major surprise for you. Something I genuinely cannot believe passed into the release of this version. The bosses in this Imaginarium Theater are the Hydro Tulpa, which is fine since its Hydro Aura allows you to go for many strategies out of the randomness that you can get. Pure Pyro with Vaporize, you have Electro with some Electro Charge and whatnot you can get. Hey, Auroron is upcoming with Electro Charged. But there's plenty of things you can do with Hydro Tulpa because of the Hydro Aura. And then it's followed by the Legatus Golem and the Geomecha. So yeah, in the 1st of October, you got to experience the Legatus Golem and the Mecha in the Imaginarium Theater, and if you thought you didn't have enough, it's back in the Abyss. Like, what is this hard on with the Legatus Golem and the Geomecha? I guess from now on, instead of the Wolf Lord coming back for Geo characters, it's these fuckers. Like, seriously, what the hell is going on? But at least with these guys, you can plan for them. The Geo Mecha, as we said for the Abyss, is the easiest because no matter the team, you will break the shield through plunge attacks. And the Golem actually is before the Mecha, so you can throw your Geos at it without having problems later for the Geo Mecha. That sounds great, right? So where's the problem, you will ask? Well, if you play on the max difficulty, which you kinda should because Imaginarium Theater is a walk in the park, else, you will find that the last boss is fucking Asimon! What? Why? For a refresher on Asimon, you need to hit the boss with Dendro and Electro in order to break its invisibility. So kindly tell me, where the fuck do you see the Dendro in the available elements? Oh, I will tell ya, it's in the special guests, where you can use some very specific characters that aren't of the normal elements. Do you want to know which Dendro character is in there? Kinich! You know, the Dendro character that uses burning, where bringing an Electro character can actively hurt his performance? And who also wants someone to use Deepwood, else his damage falls like crazy? And you're not gonna have Deepwood on your Electro and Pyro characters in the Imaginarium Theater, because you don't use Deepwood with these guys most of the time. It's very specific scenarios. Yeah, that Kinich is in here. So to explain this, you need to have Kinich, else you can't use him, by the way. That's the special guest characters. If you don't own them, you can't use them. You need to have him built, and then not use him in other stages in Imaginarium Theater, which of course can be pretty difficult if RNG fucks you. Unbelievable that they put Asimon in there. Why? Just why? There is only one Dendro character that you must own to use, and who doesn't like Electro characters on a boss that needs Electro and Dendro. Insane. So you have an Imaginarium Theater with a horrendous combo of elements, not to mention the starting cast, my goodness, and where the last boss requires an element that you might not even be able to use. And even if you get to use that character of that element, he's going to be heavily underpowered because he doesn't have his proper teammates. Insane. Imaginarium Theater, ladies and gentlemen, continues to be an absolute fail, with no signs of getting better. It's actively getting worse with this bullshit. And that's our 5.1 combat content. A basically reused Abyss, and the worst Imaginarium Theater I have experienced. I cannot say anything good for this Imaginarium Theater. It's garbage! My goodness, it ruined the entirety of this combat content. And again, because we have a reused Abyss, it's like, wow. So you want me to play something again or go for horrendous experience? Like, nice choices. Please, for the love of God, please just rework Imaginarium Theater to the Hollow Zero style in Zenless. It's actually a good game mode there, and it could easily be a good game mode in Genshin. It's basically Labyrinth Warriors, and I believe I mentioned this in the last video. But like, that's the only way, honestly, to save IT. Because this ain't it, Chief. What the fuck is Asimon doing there? Wow. And by the way, if you say, hey, haven't you said in previous, Abyss videos that you can beat Asimon without Dendro and Electro? Yeah, in the Abyss. This ain't the Abyss, this is Imaginarium Theater, and the time limits are completely different. That's why. And buffs and other things are completely different as well. And there's also RNG, of course, to take into account, with the buffs and characters that you're gonna be able to use. And that's why it fucking sucks here, compared to the Abyss. And I did try to use my Abyss tactics here. It did not fucking work. So, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Like the video if you liked it. Sub to the channel to help it out. And coming up should be the Kinich video. I just, again, was waiting for a few confirmations on builds, teams, and whatnot. Getting some experience with Kinich. And also getting my controller back. It's not back yet. I can't play with a keyboard and mouse. It feels horrendous. So the Kinich video is gonna come up. Autoron should also be our next target for a review. Because I follow leaks. I checked his kit. It looks interesting. So I'm gonna try and pull for him and use him. But Risley is nowhere to be fucking found. Bring Risley back, you motherfuckers. Please. I want to review him. Please. So, I'll see you in another video. Goodbye.